get a battery. Let's give our special guest a round of applause before I get started. There's a reason that we're here this morning. I do want to take an opportunity to thank our city officials that are here this morning, our school board officials that are here this morning. I want to thank Mr. Fenwick and his group, who always bring something special to our programs. I want to thank our City Cadet program, Mr. Thomas, that'll be in just a minute. I want to thank our teachers for their instructional time, and I want to give you some indication as to why we're here this morning. If you see television or anything at all this weekend, you know that today is Veterans Day. All of the ball games that have been on have celebrated that, from their uniforms to the halftime shows that they've had, and all of those things to celebrate the men and women that have sacrificed their lives, their families, and everything to make it possible for us to sit here this morning and do the things that we do and the things that we enjoy. As far as I'm concerned, they deserve to be recognized in this way every day. Today is Veterans Day, and it is a day set aside for them. But for those that are able to do so, if you have a veteran in your family or you live near a veteran, help them around their house. If you have the capacity, offer them a job. If you have the time, sit with them and talk with them. Veterans are very important, and we should treat them accordingly. So, with that, before we get started, let me make sure I'm following my script. Okay, Catherine's going to do the pledge. All right, so if you would, once again, welcome our special guests. And I'm going to bring Cabot up, and he is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Is that out right? Okay, I'm sorry, hang on. Okay, so color guards will do something. I'm going to give the mic away now, and I'll sit down, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes.
Yeah, you can sit back down. Sorry about that. So we will now turn it over to our U.S. Naval Sea Cadets Corps for the posting of our colors. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by 8th grade student Ben Shirley.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the national anthem sang by 8th grade student Matt Wilkinson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight
led by 8th grade student Cassidy London.
Everyone please bow. Dear Lord, today we honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon their country. We pray that you will bless them, Lord, for their unselfish service to preserve our country's heritage. For all of us, bless them abundantly for the sacrifices they made for their many contributions to America's victories. We respect them, we thank them, we honor them, and we are proud of them. And we pray that you will watch over these special people and bless them with peace and happiness. Amen.
Earlier this year, NCMS students participated in the Patriots Pen essay. This essay contest encourages young minds to examine America's history, along with their own experience in modern American society. Please welcome Alyssa Williams, an NCMS finalist, to read her essay.
Heroes make America great. Mary Roach once said, "Heroism doesn't always happen in a burst of glory. Sometimes small triumphs and large hearts change the course of history." Have you ever thought, what makes America great? As I pondered the question, I realized it's the heroes. Heroes provide history, education, resources, and opportunities. America has a history of heroes. Our founding fathers came here for religious and economic freedom and were willing to fight for it. Those who pushed west and discovered more land are heroes, and so are first responders. America has some of the best heroes: Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., John F. Kennedy, Neil Armstrong. As we look back on the history of heroes, they possess various characteristics. In America, we are all blessed to be able to get an education. Our teachers are heroes, and they don't just give you schoolwork, they prepare you for your future career. You can use that education to become anything: an astronaut, a teacher, or a veterinarian. One might say they help people become a hero too. In America, we have the resources to not only become a hero, but to help others become a hero also. Not everyone is as fortunate as us in America. Some children can't go to school or even see their friends. In America, we can become anything we want to be. Our country provides us with school and job opportunities. These resources give us the chance to become a hero, just like others in our society today. Soldiers, law enforcement, firefighters, these are the people who make America great. America provides us with so many great opportunities. As I said before, we can be anything we want to be. Our possibilities are endless, and there are college and job opportunities for every American. Without heroes, these opportunities would not be possible. They pave the path by fighting for our rights, providing education, and supplying resources. I'm convinced it's the heroes that make America great. There is a history of people that had an education, resources, and opportunities to help them become a hero. Without heroes, America would be a different country. Thank you to every hero. You make America great.
We'll now turn it over to the band, led by Mr. Finney. joined the U.S. Marine Corps soon after graduating high school in 1988. After completing basic training, he was sent to North Carolina to attend basic warrior training at the Marine Corps School of Infantry. He then attended the aircraft maintenance school before being assigned to his first unit, VMA 311, in Yuma, Arizona. In August 1990, Mr. Dameron and his unit were deployed to Saudi Arabia for operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Upon returning from the combat theater, he did a number of deployments to Japan, Korea, and Australia, before being transferred to Pensacola, Florida, to serve as an instructor to Navy and Marine Corps personnel in aviation maintenance school. Mr. Dameron served 10 years in the Marines before transitioning back to the civilian world to pursue his education and calling. Mr. Dameron has taught at NCHS for 8 years and is a proud Hornet and a Marine. Mr. Dameron.
Thank you. I'm humbled to stand before you amongst such honored men and women that sit behind me and guests that are sitting in the stands. My name is Jay Dameron. I did serve 10 years in the United States Marine Corps, and in that time I have had the opportunity to serve with some of the greatest men and women that I've ever met. One of the things that has always humbled me as a veteran is when young men and women like yourselves come to me and say, Happy Veterans Day, or thank you for your service. And for the longest time, I was a little confused about the proper way to respond to that statement, because the choices that led me to the Marine Corps were those out of necessity. I grew up in a home where I had an absentee father, a mother who suffered from mental illness, and when I graduated high school, I had the choice of either joining the military or go to work in a factory. And I'm an outdoors person. The idea of sitting in a factory did not sit well with me, so I called my recruiter and joined the Marine Corps, following the footsteps of my father, who is a Vietnam veteran of the Marine Corps himself. While I was in Desert Storm, I had the opportunity to shake hands with a gentleman who was another Marine Corps veteran who served in Vietnam, but he spent 7 years as a POW. When I shook his hand and thanked him for his service, his words to me were this: "You are worth the sacrifice." Since that day, anyone who has ever approached me and thanked me for my service, I've responded in one of two ways. I've always said, "It has been my honor to serve," or "You are worth the sacrifice." I want to speak to you today about what it means to be worth the sacrifice that these men, these women, these families have made, so that you can sit in a school, so that you can play sports, so that you can sit under the blanket of freedom that has been purchased for you because it came at a price. In the Marine Corps, we had what we call our 3 core values. They were simple, easy to remember: honor, courage, and commitment. If you truly want to be worthy of the sacrifice that men and women in uniform are making today and have made in the past, learn to live out those 3 things in your daily life. The first is honor. Be a person that is honorable. Be truthful. Be respectful. Recognize that there are people who are trying to help you and lead you and give you something of great value. I'm speaking of teachers, I'm speaking of educators, speaking of parents, pastors, friends, neighbors. Honor them. If you have a military member in your family, go to them. Ask them this question: what did you love about serving in the military? Do not ask this question: did you kill anybody? Ask them what they enjoyed. Ask them what it was like. Ask them what they saw. Allow them to tell their story. Honor their service by listening to their experiences. Honor their service by being a person that is respectful, honest, and forthright. The second is courage. Have the courage to do the right thing even when no one else is. Have the courage to stand up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Have the courage to stand in the gap and be a shield for those people who need to be protected. That's what every one of us who have served in the military did. When we signed our name on the contract, when we raised our hand and took the oath to serve this country, to protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic, we made a commitment that we would stand with courage in the line of fire. That doesn't mean without fear. There's a difference between courage and fearless. Only a fool is fearless when staring death in the face. But it is a hero that has courage and says, though this may cost me, I will still stand and I will still fight because the people I fight for are worth it. And lastly, commitment. You have, most of you, about 5 to 7 years of high school remaining. You have an opportunity to get an education to better yourself. What you're to be committed to today is your education. What you're to be committed to today is your family. What you're to be committed to today is your country. Don't take those things lightly. There are men and women who would love to be able to stand at the playing of the national anthem, but they can't. Because of the sacrifice they may have lost a limb or lost the ability to stand. There are people who would love to witness this type of program, but they can't because they lost their eyesight. There are men and women who would love to stand here and talk to you about their history and their commitment to the service of this country, but they can't because they gave their life as the ultimate sacrifice to pray for freedom that you can enjoy. So the next time you meet a veteran, the next time someone speaks to you about their service, listen intently. Show them that you are a person of honor by giving them the respect that they are due. Show them that you are a person of courage by standing up for those around you that cannot stand up for themselves. And show that you are a person of commitment by finishing what you started, by letting your yes be yes and your no be no, and stand by and stand firm to what you've committed to. If you do those three things, whether you join the military or not, does not matter. Only 3% of the world's population, or the United States population, will serve in the military. But if you do those three things, you will be worthy of the sacrifice that every one of them made. I pray that this nation that is in your hands, young people, will be worthy of the sacrifice that these men and women have made. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
All right, now we're going to go on. Thank you, Mr. Dameron. We appreciate your service. We will now have a Veterans Day poem read by 8th grade student Emily Shaw.
Veterans Day by Cheryl Dyson. On Veterans Day, we honor all who answered to a service call. Soldiers young and soldiers old fought for freedom, brave and bold. Some have lived while others died, and all of them deserve our pride. We're proud of all the soldiers who kept thinking of the red, white, and blue. They fought for us and all our rights. They fought through many days and nights. And though we may not know each name, we thank all veterans just the same.
We would now like to give a special recognition to our guests today. Howard Coffey, Army, 2 years served. Owen Lucky, Marines, 6 years served. Harold Stilts, Army, 2 years served. David Wilkinson, Army, 10 years served. David Smith, Army, 2 years served. Bill Lytle, Air Force, 30 years served. Brenda Peronto, mom of Eric Toth, who gave his life in Operation of Freedom. Doyle Cooper, Army, 3 years. And lastly, Jay Dameron, Marines. Mr. Trotter.
So these individuals, when they were serving our country, when they left home, they all left family at home. Some of them left babies at home. And some may not have been married yet, but had loved ones that missed them very much. And they all made that sacrifice for us. And I think that Mr. Dameron so eloquently stated that at one point, the freedoms that we have were in the hands of these individuals and the babies that they sent to serve for us that didn't come home. This woman's just like your mamas and just like our grandmamas. You know, she has washing to do and food to fix and family to take care of. She's no different than what you left at home this morning. And she made that ultimate sacrifice. Her son never came home the way she expected him to. So, as Mr. Dameron said, your hands are the ones in which our future freedoms lie. And so I hope that you remember that, and I hope that you take parts of this program with you this morning, because it's very important that we remember these individuals and the things that they have done for us that continue on every day. So don't forget that, okay? As I said earlier, today is Veterans Day, but they deserve this every day. I want to thank our band again. I want to thank our Sea Cadets. I want to thank all of our special guests and our teachers and everyone that made the time to be here this morning. If you would, please stand and let's join together and together show our appreciation for this individual that they've done for us. Thank you. You may be seated. All right, so we will be going back to class in just a minute. If you will stay seated, we're going to ask our veterans to, we're going to take them to the cafeteria. If I could have a couple of our students escort them down, and we'll have some refreshments if you want, and they have a